Welcome to our channel, where we explore the fascinating history behind the inventions that changed our world.
Today, we're digging into a name everyone knows, John Deere.
Exactly. But we want to go past the, green tractor and the corporate logo. We're looking at the man himself, a master blacksmith who solved this massive problem for 19th century farmers.
A huge problem, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the crucial challenge that brought him west in the first place.
So, to get the full picture, you have to start back in Vermont. He was born in 1804. His father disappeared when he was young, and he didn't have much formal schooling.
But he was a craftsman from the start.
Oh, absolutely. He did an apprenticeship and got this reputation for being incredibly skilled, just meticulous. Whether he was polishing a hay fork or something else, he had this incredible attention to detail.
But that skill wasn't paying the bills in New England.
No. The economy there collapsed around 1836, so like a lot of people, he headed west. He lands in a small town called Grand Detour, Illinois, sets up a blacksmith shop.
And right away, he sees that the farmers are in big trouble.
Big trouble. The land is amazingly fertile, but they literally can't farm it.
Why not? They brought their plows with them from back east, right?
They did, and that was the entire problem. Those were cast iron plows made for the light, rocky soil in, say, Vermont.
But the prairie soil was different.
Completely different. It was this thick, sticky, clay-like soil. They called it muck, and that muck would just cling to the cast iron. The plows wouldn't scour.
Scour, meaning they wouldn't clean themselves as they moved through the dirt.
Exactly. The mold board would just get caked with mud.
So what, you'd have to stop every 10 feet?
Every few feet. You'd plow for a second, then have to stop, get off the horse, and literally scrape all this gunk off by hand.
That's not farming. That's just an impossible task.
It was a total technological bottleneck. It was grinding westward expansion to a halt.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. The solution, the innovation, it doesn't come from studying other plows.
No, not at all. The inspiration came from his mother's sewing kit, of all places.
His mother was a seamstress.
Right, and he'd watch her constantly sharpening and polishing her steel sewing needles. She had to, so they could pierce through tough fabrics like wool without sticking.
A highly polished surface moves through dense material more easily.
That was the light bulb moment. He applied that exact principle to the plow. So in 1837, he gets his hands on a broken circular saw blade.
Not just any blade, though.
No, it was made of fine English steel, much higher quality than cast iron. He reshaped it, but then, and this is the key, he painstakingly polished it. Polished it until it was glass smooth.
So it wasn't just the steel itself, it was the finish on the steel.
It was all about the finish. The
Yeah.
thick, wet soil just slid right off that polished surface. It was self-scouring.
Wow. And the first one was sold to a guy named Lewis Crandall.
It was. And, people like Thomas Jefferson had worked on plow designs before, focusing on the shape of the mold board. But Deere was the one who realized that for this specific prairie soil, the material and its finish were everything.
That one innovation basically unlocked the Great Plains for agriculture.
It really did. And demand just exploded immediately.
By 1841, he's making, around 100 plows a year?
Yeah, between 75 and 100, which is great for a blacksmith shop, but it's not an industry. He knew he had to scale up.
So he makes a big move.
A brilliant move. In 1848, he relocates the whole operation to Moline, Illinois.
Why Moline?
2 reasons. First, it's right on the Mississippi River. That means water power for the factory and easy transportation. Second, it allowed him to sign a contract with Pittsburgh Steel.
So no more relying on broken saw blades.
Exactly. He needed a consistent supply of high-quality raw material. That move is what turned John Deere from a brilliant blacksmith into a true industrialist.
And the numbers show it. By 1855, just a few years later, the factory is selling over 10,000 plows a year.
They earned the nickname, the plow that broke the plains.
And he always stuck to that core idea of quality. There's that great quote of his.
I will not put my name on a product that does not have in it the best that is in me. That really was his philosophy.
And that customer focus shows up in other inventions too, right? Like the Hawkeye riding cultivator.
Oh, that's a fantastic example. So this was in 1863. A cultivator isn't a plow, it just tills the soil between the rows of crops.
And this was a riding cultivator. You can sit on it.
Yes, and that was specifically designed to help wounded Civil War veterans. Men who might have lost a leg, who couldn't handle walk-behind tools anymore, could get back to farming. It shows a company that was really listening to people's needs.
It's just an incredible story. The company incorporates in 1868. His son Charles takes a big role, and that legacy continues. The Smithsonian even calls that original plow one of the 101 objects that made America.
It really is. And later in life, John Deere himself focused more on civil affairs. He actually became the mayor of Moline, which leaves you with a really interesting question to think about. How did that mindset, that very practical, hands-on, problem-solving approach he had as a blacksmith, how do you think that informed his approach to civic leadership and solving problems for a whole community?
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and let us know in the comments which invention you'd like to explore next.